Hey, this is Brian Bachand, founder of Evolution Evolution. And if you really want to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and we're at episode 229 with my good friend, Brian Bachand from Evolution Evolution. And there's two parts to the evolution. One was basically put into our DNA, and the other evolution is really personally owning your story and choosing to level up. And that's where I'm going to stop because Brian really gets into it. He helps people own their stories, be authentic, and level up their life. And that's what we're all about here at Time to Shine Today. So without further ado, sit back, relax, break out your notebooks, which I have 2 pages of full notes. I just couldn't stop writing fast enough. And I even wrote more after I re-listened to our interview. So here comes my really good friend, Brian Bachand from Evolution Evolution. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. And let me tell you, a really good friend of mine said, when you stand in your truth, embrace what is in your heart, then you are free to evolve. And that is who you're looking at right now. If you're watching on YouTube or any other video platforms, it's my really good friend, Brian Bachand. You know, he'll say that there has been a natural evolution as humans, yet as individuals, professional and personal evolution is our own. You know, his journey is pretty unique, and it's pretty awesome. He was a priest and then an executive in New York City, Toronto, and now founder of his own company, Evolution Evolution. He inspires professional leaders and organizations to shift from a belief of what is the work to what is the mission. So what is the work to what is the mission? He's going to shift you there. He engages with leaders who feel isolated and to align fully and with clarity. He's based out of Toronto. He's proud to be both an American and Canadian citizen. And Brian believes when we ask the question, what do I desire? The truth will intuitively lead us to embrace what is in our heart and evolve us forward. And Brian, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color, Scott, first of all, great to be here. Favorite color is yellow.
Yellow. Why is that?
Yellow is a warm color, and it's about creativity. And whenever I see yellow, I smile.
I love it. And like you're a handsome dude, and yellow is definitely your color wheel if you want to throw it on, man. So
well,
you can wear that
I have
anytime.
a lot of yellow shirts.
My man. So let's get to kind of quickly through the origins, but what kind of led that up, priest, executive, into Evolution Evolution?
I know, great story. Over a bottle of wine, there's even more. So, after university, I always had a desire of service. Had always been kind of a spiritual person and just felt called that at that time, being Catholic, the only way I felt I could live that out was kind of becoming clergy. And it was beautiful. I have to say I was a happy priest and I was really good at what I did. 4 years in a parish, and then 4 years I was selected by the cardinal to be his private secretary, which would be like his chief of staff. So When he went to the Vatican to meet the Pope, I was there. When he went to the White House, I was there. And it was amazing. But that question of what I desire is something that I wanted to be truly authentic to who I was. I wanted to be able to love another person. I wanted to be free and stand in my truth as a gay man, to be free. And I knew that my gifts could be used in the world in a different way. And so I made the courageous decision to resign freely and to begin a new life in New York City.
I love that stand-up. That's fantastic. Took a lot of balls to do that, huh? Because the Catholic is pretty powerful and stuff like that. For you to come out and say you're a gay man and then really live in your truth. Was that like scary as shit or what?
The thing is, I get asked that all the time. And one of the things I talk about, especially with entrepreneurs and being one, is, I made a conscious change and it was a conscientious change. It wasn't like overnight. I just, I'm out of here. I quit. I really took the time, almost close to a year, to work with someone professionally. I spoke to a couple people really close to me to kind of peel back the layers of why I wanted to go. And obviously I was being groomed for a lot more leadership, and I knew that I had to look at that. So by the time I finally told the cardinal I wanted to leave, and I started to tell family, I had done all my inner work. So I was really in a great mindset to begin a new path, and I was excited. And
was there a lot of analysis paralysis that came with that? Like you were thinking about it, but then backed off, or was it just go all forward? Like
I think what happened was when I started working for the Cardinal, it was an amazing life, right? Like we're traveling all over it. My skill set was being used. But that's when interiorly I started to recognize a couple things. One, I didn't miss my life in the parish anymore, doing baptisms and weddings and everything. Mm-hmm. So that was a sign that, wow, like I thought as a priest, I'd always be doing that. Now I'm more administrative, and I enjoyed that. Then at the same time, I started to see how isolating personally your life could be the more you became in more senior leadership. And I didn't want to be alone. And gotcha. I wanted to stand on my truth. And I didn't want to live in two worlds. I wanted to be truly authentic.
That's excellent, man. That's excellent. Because a lot of people will walk that line and bounce that act. And you had a conviction to move forward. So let's get into evolution. How did we get there?
Yeah. So evolution is named twice for a reason. And the first evolution stands for the natural evolution as human beings, right? Our own personal DNA, how a pandemic has impacted every single person on the planet. But the second evolution is the one that we can personally own and choose how we want to evolve personally and professionally. And so I created evolution because my life has been an evolution. And I love working with leaders, having been a leader and having supported leaders. But I truly know the only way you can make the greatest impact is by doing some of that inner work to overcome some of the fears, especially if you're an entrepreneur or founder, to truly see where you want to move forward.
Love it. So what then makes a great leader, in your opinion?
Yeah. First of all, what makes a great leader is the first thing is own your story. When leaders own their stories, they own who they are, that sets them apart. There's no longer a mask. There's no longer of, wow, he's a great or she's an amazing CEO, but I never got to know them. Those days of being disconnected, that doesn't inspire.
Right.
First of all, it's owning your story. Second, it's also making sure that you are cultivating an aspect inwardly, whether that's meditation, whether that's yoga, whether that's taking time for self-reflection, because leaders that do that, they are truly evolved leaders that are more in tune to themselves, the people they lead, and also for the clients that they serve.
Love it. That's amazing. So do you work with like one-to-ones a lot, or what's your story with who you work with?
Yeah. So there's two areas. So I do right at this particular time, I do one-on-ones. Okay. One of my particular niches are new CEOs or, founders that have been around for a while. They're now, at a moment that they could really work with someone to go deeper. And I love that mentoring in that world with them. And, and what's great about that is, I'm agnostic in terms of, what area, whether it's an asset management, pharmaceutical company, or a not-for-profit. But for leaders that want to say, I really believe I have a mission to make this company or organization the best and impact the people around me. And they have a new mindset that they want to bring a sense of presence. They want to bring a sense of mindfulness. They want to bring a sense of clarity to where they're at. Those are the leaders I work with. And that brings me so much joy. And I'm in the midst right now of developing programs to work in workshops and groups with leaders as well through some retreats.
That's awesome.
I love that.
That's awesome. So if you're in the discovery period, one of these leaders, what is some of your secret sauce over at evolution, if you don't mind sharing, that maybe helps them find their blind spots?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I'll share is there was this one CEO, she hired me, and she was a CEO of a $1 billion publicly traded company. Amazing human being. But, when you get to that level, you're pretty direct and you're pretty sharp. And I remember when she said, Brian, what's the difference if I hire you versus a company that I'm no longer and other people? And I said, here's the difference if you work with me. Number one, I am not going to be afraid to shine a light on some of the areas that you need to have a light shined on. Because as a CEO, sometimes everyone says yes to you. And, you need someone that can really help navigate that. Number two, I'm a firm believer that who you are personally is deeply integrated into who you are professionally.
Sure.
And we have to make sure that's aligned. One of the biggest things I do with every single person that makes a difference, it's the number one feedback I get, is I begin every single session with all my clients with a breathing technique. I actually teach them a breathing technique that does two things. Scientifically, it shows how it reduces anxiety, helps bring them focus, helps them be more attentive. And these are techniques they can bring back into their life.
Love it.
And that has been so powerful because the sessions go totally different.
Love it.
Themselves up.
I do the exact same thing. I do the quad 4 breathing method before every single one. And it's funny when you get the alpha males or even alpha females coming in. I'm like, listen, it's going to change your mind. It's going to change everything. Because I'm 49 and I didn't even start. I just literally 2 months ago, my pranayama coach hit my pelvic floor. And it took 4 years. You know what I'm saying? So breathing, just starting a session is excellent, Brian. So when you're starting to work with somebody, again, maybe still in the discovery period, is there any good question you wish they would ask you but never do?
Yeah, I think the number one question that I think is so critical is that question of what do I desire? Right. And what brings you joy?
Sure.
And I think that's the second one, because
so they should ask you that, or what?
Well, I mean, they can certainly say, what has brought you joy? If they ask me that, what has brought you joy?
Gotcha. Yeah. Nice.
Because joy is always an indicator of what brings you fulfillment and is attracting you to what you want to be and who you are. Joy is something that is not just, it doesn't mean being Pollyanna, but it means being alive with using all of your skills, with your values. And joy is what is one of the most important questions to ask. What has brought you joy? What has brought you there?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Brian, have you saw the movie Back to the Future?
Oh, a long time ago.
Okay, me too. Let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the 22-year-old Brian. What kind of knowledge nuggets, we call them here at Time to Shine today, what kind of knowledge nuggets would you be dropping on Brian to maybe help him shorten his learning curve, blast through, or level up? Just a little quicker.
Yeah, sure. So the 22-year-old, I would certainly say to Brian, listen, you have a deep sense of spirituality and sensitivity, but you can live that out without having to be a priest. You can incorporate that into your life now as being a professional and being a business person. That would be one of the biggest things.
Wow.
I think at that time, at the 22-year-old, I just thought, well, if you were spiritual, you were inclined to meditation, you just had to go in a religious life. And that's not necessarily the case.
Love that. I love that. That's transparent as hell, man. I really appreciate you sharing that, because you walked that journey because you were, wouldn't say lost, but you thought that was the way, but you could have incorporated in different ways without having to go to that.
And I'm grateful I did.
How many years were you in clergy?
Yeah, so it was 5 years in the seminary studying, and then I was 8 years as a priest, 4 years in a parish, and then 4 years working for the cardinal.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
that's almost probably 25% of your life-ish.
Yeah, I left. I was ordained when I was 27.
Okay.
And then 8 years after that, left and went to New York and, started a whole new chapter.
Wow. Excellent, man. Yeah. Excellent. So what do you think people misunderstand about you the most?
I think one of the things, sometimes this is the one thing that kind of irritates me. I'm a really positive person and, and I know I have high energy in a positive way. But if you have a day that I'm a little quieter, people often say, is everything okay? Is everything all right? And sometimes at first I used to get really nervous about that, thinking, oh my gosh, I always have to project this like outward energy in different things. Where I think sometimes people think if you are always outgoing and positive, if you're quieter one day, it doesn't mean something's wrong. It just might mean that I'm a little more reflective that day, or maybe something is on my mind, or maybe I'm just human and I'm a little tired.
Tired.
Like,
Right. I get it too, man. Because I am a fireball. And some days, bro, I'll sit at a kava bar here in Palm Beach. It's a nice little root drink, relaxes me. And they'll be like, Fergie, everything okay? And I'm like, everything's perfect. Because right now it's because usually I walk in, I'm hugging everybody, kissing guys, girls on the cheeks. I don't care, man. That's me. I'm a Midwesterner, So, that's great that you said that. So then what keeps you up at night?
I have to say this, and this isn't to be arrogant. Pretty much I sleep sound.
Dude, that's a superpower. My girl can fall asleep. I timed her in like 8 seconds one time. Yeah. She was out, right? And I'm like, that's a superpower to me.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for that. I think the reason is it doesn't mean that I don't have things that can weigh on my mind.
Sure.
Whether it's a decision or I'm anxious about something. But if it's really gnawing at me, I won't be able to sleep. So I need to process that. I need to talk to someone or I need to be there. So I actually will sleep sound. I may wake up earlier, but I won't have a restless night because I'm actually processing or speaking to someone and doing that. And that's been something I started really ever since I was very young. And I really am grateful. I think that's been one of the hallmarks of my success at leading to be an entrepreneur, that there's always going to be issues. There's always going to be stuff.
Yeah.
But you cannot let it take away the peace within you.
Sure. When you die, your inbox is not going to be empty.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what, no matter how old you are.
Exactly.
So do you think that your time in the clergy helps you with that a little bit? Do you still turn things over to God?
Yeah. So, I really do. It's funny. I did a podcast interview recently, and it was about using intuition in business.
Okay.
And when I went to Manhattan, I landed in the world of philanthropy. And I was a director at the American Cancer Society. It was my first job. It was 2008. The economy tanked. But I remember just remembering intuitively a couple of people I met that led to raising millions, just in a different way. So my training as a priest, I really do believe helped me tremendously, in terms of understanding people on a very high level. So when I would go into a boardroom or a board meeting, and I would just have this sense, I'm like, okay, there are bigger issues going on here. And I knew how to take things personally, how to navigate it. And I think it really did. It really, really paid off. And also how to listen.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
That's probably the biggest.
It's huge. So then how do you want Brian's dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date. How do you want that dash remembered, brother?
I want that dash remembered for two things. One, that I was a living example of someone that truly lived their truth in joy. And number two, that I helped others to embrace their truth and live their joy in the way that they wanted to live out their life.
Wow. So you're seeing a lot like somebody that's really planting seeds every day of trees that you're never going to sit in the shade, huh? Like you're good with that. Like that's awesome, dude.
I am, because my philosophy is this. I know that there have been billions of years that have come before me, and there will be billion and million years after me.
Sure.
And my work is to impact the people right in front of me.
Yes.
At this moment, but also the generations that will follow after them.
Love it.
And
Love it. So
it's good.
Brian, let's take out of the equation. Let's take out our cell phone, tablets, computers. Let's eliminate those. And also your partner. Okay. Mm-hmm. Your man, let's take him out of this equation. What are three things Brian can't live without?
My journal.
Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah.
Yep,
me too, brother. Me too.
I love my journal. And it was a friend of mine that gave me a few years ago this beautiful Mont Blanc journal as a gift. And now those are the only kind of journals I use. I have different colors. That journal brings me so much joy every day writing it. So that's number one. Number two, I would certainly say, this is such a small thing. I would say sunglasses, because I love walking. I love being outside. And that enables me just to be, without squinting and seeing the world fully.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Last thing.
The last thing is probably a picture of my dad that he passed away literally a week after I left the priesthood and moved to New York. And I have this beautiful picture of my dad that I just treasure. And I would want to make sure that's with me because it just always reminds me he's watching over me.
That's awesome, Brian. I really appreciate you sharing that. So what is Brian's definition of a life well lived?
Brian's definition of a life well lived is very simple, is loving yourself so you can love others fully and help them truly live their lives to the highest level.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's funny, like that some people would be like, oh, that's selfish. But really, you look in a dictionary and selfish doesn't even mean anything bad. It's really just you really take care of you so you can provide that service and help other people live out their truth. That's awesome, Brian. Thank you for being transparent in that. Hey, Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. We are back. And I'm here with my really good friend, Brian Bachand from Evolution. And Brian, we have our leveling up lightning round. You and I could seriously talk an hour on each one of these. Okay.
Sure.
But you got 5 seconds with no explanations. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, my brother. What is the best leveling up advice Brian's ever received?
The best what advice?
Leveling up advice.
Leveling up advice is this: just own it.
Own it. Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Yeah. Every day I have a meditation practice every single morning, which is breathing and, meditating, journaling. Absolutely the biggest habit.
Other than evolution.com, and of course, timetoshinetoday.com, my shameless plug. What other website does Brian go to level up?
It's there's someone I follow. It's called Just Ask a Share. Share Jones on LinkedIn.
Love it.
Amazing.
Yes. You see me, I'm walking around. My nonverbal cues are off. Fergie doesn't look right. He's in his doldrums. What book are you handing me?
You know what book I would give you would be The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Yes, Robin Sharma, baby. He's coming on the show. I can't wait.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. What's your most commonly used emoji?
The most overused emoji you said?
What's your most commonly used emoji?
I would certainly say a smiley face.
All right, my man. Chess or checkers?
Checkers.
Oh, me too, brother. King me. I'll take it. It's easier. Now, don't lie to me on this one, brother. Okay.
Yeah.
If you could stay one age physically for the rest of your life, keep all the knowledge you've gained and continue to garner knowledge and wisdom, what age physically would you stay for the rest of your life?
What age I would say?
Yes.
I would say probably 40.
Okay. May I ask your age?
I'm 49.
Oh,
we're the same age.
Yeah, we're the same age. Wow. Okay. Interesting. You don't look that. Okay. Very cool.
Okay, Scott, I can't hear you now.
Oh, can you hear me?
There you are. Now you're back.
Gotcha.
Now you're back.
Gotcha. Okay. Favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
Absolutely. I'm the chair of the board of Access Employment. It's the only organization I would ever consider doing that to.
Let's expand on it. What is Access Employment?
Access Employment is an organization that helps newcomers and immigrants here in Toronto find employment. And we work with all the major companies and organizations in Canada.
Beautiful. Last question. You can expand on this one as well. But what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
I would say the 80s.
Yes. Dude, we're the same age. Did you graduate like 1990, 89 or 90?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
90.
Yeah, me too. Big Hair, Don't Care. You had rap. You had the Irish Invasion with U2. You had the Crew, Motley Crue. You had the Cure. You had everything in the 80s, right?
The Cure. I used to love that. That was like the rap music. I loved it.
I love it. So, Brian, how can we find you, brother?
Absolutely. There's 2 ways. You can go through my website, Evolution, which is going through an evolution right now and all being updated and changed. But you can email me there at brian@evolution.com.
Okay.
Also, I'm super active on LinkedIn. Send me a message, say that you heard me on the podcast here, and you are welcome to connect, and I will connect back.
I love that. And Brian, in Squad, all of that will be in the show notes as well down below. Brian, leave us with one last knowledge. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Do you have any courses that you're offering right now?
At the moment, there's no courses that I'm offering, but there will be coming up.
Okay, make sure that we're notified because we'll drop this a little bit down the road. And if you have it done, let us know. And we'll put that in the show notes as well, Brian.
Thank you.
And that favor, I need to ask of you, leave us with one last knowledge nugget you want us to take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Yeah. So, this is what I would leave you with is this. sometimes you have to let memories be memories and live in the present so you can create the future that you want. So often we look back and we think, I want to recapture this moment, or I had this, or I don't want to do that. Let that go. Be present and visualize where you're going.
I love it. And squad, we just got another free masterclass from an awesome guest, my really good friend, Brian Bachand here, B Squared, I call him here, from Evolution. If he's going to go Evolution, B Squared. Brian Bachand, I love it. He grew up with a desire for service. He wants you to be authentic to what you desire and stand up for your truths and within your truths. Have a conscientious change. It's evolution. Evolution is a natural personal DNA. That's the first evolution that we have that we're all instilled with. Then there's evolution, which is what you personally own and choose to involve yourself in. He will say that leaders own their stories. That's what sets them apart, and they cultivate inwardly. And if you have a mission, you want to impact people through mindfulness, and you want to level up and do it maybe a little bit quicker and shorten that learning curve, let us introduce you to my good friend, Brian, and we can make that warm introduction. I'm sure he'll carve a little bit of time for you. He says that joy is an indicator that brings in fulfillment. So be alive, use your skills to help people, be a living example, live in your truth, and also help others live in theirs when they have with the chance. And then also let memories be memories. Still create your future. Like we say, don't live, if you're sitting in your car, you have the big windshield in front of you, but you're always living that rearview mirror, leave that there. Maybe pull forward some really good memories, but create your future going forward. That's what Brian does. That's what he will help you do. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's humble yet hungry. We're blessed to have you on. Thank you so much for carving the time, Brian. We can't wait to collaborate with you in the future, brother.
Absolutely. What a gift. Thank you so much, Scott.
You bet, my friend. Talk soon. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast, proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.